In this video, I'm going to be showing you a battle analysis between the Necrons and the Deathwatch. What we're going to be doing is a 2,000 point ITC style mission. I'm Stephen from Vanguard Tactics, and it's my mission to help you become a better 40k player. So the ITC stands for the Independent Tournament Circuit, and they have their own champion mission pack. So what I'm going to be doing in this video is going over, first of all, what the ITC is. We're also going to be covering the mission and how they are slightly different to the chapter or chapter approved missions. I'm then going to be going over how you become and design a good list so you become a good player within the ITC. We're then going to go over the mission, the lists, and then I'm going to be showing you turn by turn battle analysis. So this isn't just a case of showing you a battle report. You're going to get all that, but you're also going to get the tactics right the way through. So what I tend to do is I analyze the game, I break it down, I pause it, I show what we did well, what we didn't, and how we can improve. And my goal with this whole channel is to help you become a better 40k player just by learning from the mistakes that we make and also the analysis that we put forward. So at any time in this video, if you feel like you'd have done something differently, then just comment below, because it's a really great way for us to build a really great community and ultimately help each other just become better players at this game that we obviously love so much. So within the ITC, there are 6 different missions, and in this video, we're just going to be showing you mission number 1, which is called Seize Ground. Now there's 6 objectives, and in the ITC, you get, at the end of your turn for this mission, 1 victory point if you killed a unit, and 1 victory point if you controlled an objective. So it doesn't matter how many you kill or how many you control, you get 1 for killing something, 1 for holding something. Then at the end of the battle round, you would compare how many you killed or controlled compared to your opponent, and if one of you scored greater than the other, you would get a bonus point for either. So you could potentially score up to 4 points in your turn, 1 for controlling, 1 for killing more, and controlling more. Okay, so maximum of 4 typically that you'll see. Then we also have secondary missions. Now these are a little bit different to the book because you are in control and you are able to select 3 secondary missions, and each of those secondary missions have a maximum of 4 points up for grabs over the course of the 6 turns, and it is a fixed 6 turns. So there's 11 different secondary missions that you can choose from. I'm going to go over some of my top tips for selecting your secondary missions. These secondary missions can vary from Kingslayer to killing lots of models to killing independent units to killing big titans. So they're very, very vast and varied, and you need to make sure that when you pick your secondaries, and you can do that after you've seen your opponent's list, you are able to pick the right secondaries that you know that your army scores really well, and also that you know that you can either prevent your opponent from scoring things or that might score really well against an opponent. For example, if I'm playing against a horde army, I'm going to be making sure that I take the one that allows me to score points every time I kill 20 models. If I'm going up against an army of knights, then Titan Slayer is going to be the one I'm going to pick. So with these secondary missions, what I would suggest you do before you get overwhelmed with how many different ones there are, always remember that your opponent has the ability to deny you, okay? So here's an example. So if I choose Kingslayer, which is to kill a particular character of my choosing, if I was my opponent, I would just hide them at the very back of the field, out of line of sight, and keep them really well protected, and that's going to make my job incredibly difficult. Or if I went for one which is Line Breaker, where what I've got to do is try and get into my opponent's deployment zone every turn to score a point, that's going to be really difficult if my opponent just screens and blocks me out from doing so. So a very, very challenging mission, whereas if you can pick the secondaries that your opponent has no control of, or should I say more of the control is in your hands, then you're going to have a much easier time at scoring the most amount of points possible. Which is why, if you're getting into the ITC for the first time, I would suggest the following. Number one, pick Old School. Old School is First Strike, which you're already going to be very familiar with. If you play out of the book missions, you just got to kill something in your first turn. Last Strike, kill something in the last turn of the game. Slay the Warlord, which again you're already pretty familiar with. And then also Line Breaker. So at the end of the game, have a unit in your enemy's deployment zone. So you're already quite familiar with that, which is cool because you've already practiced this over and over again, and you can kind of do that by habit. The next one I would pick is also Ground Control. Now, again, very similar. If you're used to playing out of the book missions, you're used to being on objectives, holding objectives, and being on objectives at the end of the game. So what this is going to allow you to do is plan ahead and then make sure that by the end of the game you are sat on as many objectives as you possibly can be. The other great thing about this in tournament play, if it doesn't go all the way to the 6th turn and it ends early, let's say your opponent plays a little bit slow than you would have liked, providing that you're on all those objectives, then even if the game stops early, now it's fine because you would essentially score for all those objectives you're currently stood on. So it's a really good one if you know actually the game might not go all the way to the end. And finally, the third one I would go for, this is the one where you can potentially make it a little bit more specific. So if you're playing against orcs or nids or cultists that have lots of models, go for obviously Reaper, which allows you to kill, you get a point for every 20 or more models you kill. If you're playing against knights, go for the Titan Slayer. If you're going for an army where you know you need to kill tanks, then go for Big Game Hunter. Failing that, if you're really unsure and you've got a very fast army, maybe go for the one where you need a model in every table quarter, which is called Recon, and then that way, again, that's in your hands and it's in your control, and your opponent can't really do too much about stopping that. Then all you need to do is focus on the primary missions. Focus on ensuring that you know what you can kill, what you can control, and then also try and deny your opponent from controlling and also killing. And then keep track of actually what's going on, so then you know, especially if you're going first, realistically what is your opponent likely to do, so then you can make sure you do the minimum amount required to try and get the upper hand on killing more and also controlling more. And because there's a slight advantage to going second because you know exactly what your opponent was able to do against you in that battle round, so then you can counter, which is a nice little change to having the first turn, which is so strong, for there to be a little bit more tactical play by going second in the ITC. So if you like the sound of these missions and you would like a copy of them, what I'm going to do, if you sign up at www.vanguardtactics.com to my emails, then I'm going to send absolutely everybody who is on that list a link to the mission pack. Now, I'm also going to send you over both of the army lists, so the Deathwatch army list and also the Necron army list. And if you also sign up, you will get my Imperial Knight cheat sheet. So that goes over what relics, what warlord traits you should take, and I'll also give you my Deathwatch GT undefeated list. Head over to www.vanguardtactics.com, go sign up there, and also if you are interested in supporting the channel, helping me, get better terrain, improve the quality of the models that you see, and also just deliver a better quality video, then I would love it if you could sign up as a Patreon, and even at the very minimum fee, it would really help everyone and myself just continue this channel for you guys. So, and for all of the Patreon subscribers, everyone that's supported the channel, subscribed, I just want to say a massive thank you. So head over there, do subscribe to these emails, and I send out loads of tips every single week, different things about screening. You can also pick up my player's guide to 40k over on that website. I'll send you all the details. So if you're interested in all that, go head over there for loads more content. So without further ado, let's go over to the game. You're also going to meet Dan, one of the other Vanguard Tactics players that is going to be joining the channel. So head over there now, and I hope you enjoy the game. And as soon as that's done, we're going to go over what was good, what went well, what went badly, and what we could do better. So we'll finish off with that analysis at the very end. as I mentioned earlier, we are doing mission numero uno from the ITC Champion Mission Pack as it stands. So, we're doing mission 1, which basically means there are 6 placed objectives. The first thing that we had to do was essentially put down a terrain. We're literally going to play that. If you're touching the terrain, you're in terrain. We're going to keep it nice and simple. If it looks like it blocks line of sight, it blocks line of sight. If it doesn't, then it's open, okay? Then what we're going to do is, or what we have done, is we've put the objectives down. So there are 6 objectives. And just to give you a quick overview, we've essentially got a perfect kind of equal distribution of the objectives. One's 18 in, 12 from the side, and you've got basically 4 of those, and then you've got 2 that are literally bang on central, which are 28 in the middle. So it literally looks like a nice little symmetrical pattern, which is cool. So the next thing that we're going to be going over is our lists. Then what we're going to be doing is choosing our secondaries, and I'm going to get onto the primary and secondary missions in this game very shortly. So once we've discussed those secondary missions that we're going to choose, it's then starting to roll some dice. Welcome, Dan, to Vanguard Tactics.
Hi Steve, how are we doing?
Yeah, very good, mate. So today we've obviously got the Necrons you're using, right?
Well, I am indeed.
So Dan, give us a little story behind your Necrons.
So Necrons are pretty much the only army I play, and pretty much the only army I have played in 8th edition. So been running them for quite a while now. Mixed bag of results, but I'm staying loyal to them, at least for now. So yeah, this is me.
See what we can do. You've had some good results with them though, haven't you?
Yeah, I'd say a bit of a mixed bag. Been to a few tournaments recently, and most of the time ended somewhere kind of somehow mid-upper table, so mostly kind of 3 and 2s. Went 3-0 at an RTT and actually got a win against the RE, so it's not all bad.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've been playing them, as I say, since start of 8th. This will be my first game though with them since chapter approved. So.
And you happy with that result?
I am, yeah. I think in isolation, if no one else had had any drops, I'd be happy. I've got about 200 points out on my list, so quite a bit extra.
That's quite a bit, yeah.
But sadly, everyone else dropped as well, including the army that Steve's going to be playing today. But yeah, so it'll be the first time I've run the Necron since then. Very similar list to what I had before, but just with a bit extra plugged in. So yeah, interested to see how it goes.
Right, so let's talk us through the list then.
Right,
let's start off with, it's a lovely army by the way, mate.
Thank you.
And as you can see, guys, we've really already upped our game with the old terrain. We've put a big focus on that, and also the lighting. So hopefully you guys are enjoying this. And if you want to see Dan's list, head over to vanguardtactics.com and I'm going to email you the list. So Dan, can you give us a quick brief overview?
A very quick run through of what I've got.
What's the chapter tactic to first off with?
Chapter tactic is Saltec. So the whole army is running the same dynasty trait, and that lets me move and shoot with heavy weapons without penalty. And it also turns pretty much every weapon into an assault weapon when you advance. So it gives them just a little bit more mobility than they'd have otherwise. Also gives you access to a stratagem which, once you've inflicted a wound on something, you can play a strat to give +1 to hit for the rest of the army. So sometimes gives some nice little combos. So the army itself, what am I running? So I've got a battalion with Imhotep himself, a crypt deck with the Chronometron to give me the 5-up invuln to everything around him.
What's the range on that?
The range on that is 3 inches, I believe.
And is this guy here, is it?
That is this guy here, yeah.
If you don't mind pointing it out, that'd be great.
So here's my crypt deck here.
Where's Imhotep?
This is Imhotep here, stood at the front.
Cool, yeah.
So he's a bit of a beast. I have been taking him, as I say, since before chapter approved, even at 200 points, but he's dropped down nicely now to 160, so a little bit better value. And behind him we've got a Lord as well, so he's again just a bit of a buff character, so he'll be kind of running alongside the infantry to try and boost them up a little bit. Then my troops, I've got 3 units of 10 Tesla Immortals, so fairly simple.
So 1,
2 and 3 over here.
Cool.
So all just running them as Tesla, again trying to make the most of the +1 to hit buff from the Saltec with the stratagem. Just find out they can generally do a fair bit of work, albeit not so good against armoured targets, which again might be a slight issue today, but we'll see. I've then got 4 units of Scarabs, so I'm running 3 units of 3 and a unit of 4, so
nice.
These guys are over here. Main reason I've got them there is for a bit of screen, really, just to help try and push people back a little bit on the deep strike, which I think, generally speaking, is quite important, and again today, may well be when I'm coming up against the Deathwatch.
Screening is one of the most important parts of the game.
Absolutely.
And if you want a screening guide, you can check out that over on vanguardtacticsagain.com, and I will be able to send you the details if you want to get your hands on that. But no, it is extremely important in the game of 40k.
Absolutely. Then finishing off, so what else we got? We've just got a little unit of 3 Tomb Blades. They're running
quick shooty things, are they?
Yep, absolutely. So 14-inch move, auto advance 6, so a little bit quick. Again, I think a thing which Necrons tend to struggle with is the mobility, so they're not really there to do any damage in this game, but hopefully they might help me out with a little objective grab when I need it.
And that's so important in this ITC mission. And then you've got destroyers, they're like your heavy hitters, right, aren't they? They can do a bit of everything. Yeah,
so these are the workhorses. If I can keep them alive, we'll see. Yeah. They'll hopefully be doing some work for me.
And who's this guy?
This guy in the middle, he's actually pretty much what's been added to my list post-CA, so with my 200-point drop, I pretty much just plugged him in. So this is the Nightbringer, who I'm not sure he's the most competitive choice, but we'll see. I've never run him before. We'll give him a go.
He used to be one of my favourite models.
He is an exceptionally cool model, and he's got a fair bit of punch. Again,
combat monster, is he?
He can do some damage. Yeah, he's got a bit of shooting. He's got some mortal wound output, so you never know.
And then to finish off, we've got
the most important part: 3 Doomsday Arcs. So these are my pretty much only long-range shooting in my army. So if they're standing still, the big guns are on a 72-inch range.
Okay.
Also, the guns off the side, I've got sort of 20 rapid-fire shots that I can use out of there. So actually, when people do get a bit closer, they can punch out a fair bit of damage.
They're those side guns there, aren't they?
Yeah, they are indeed.
So that's the army, mate.
That's me.
That's the army.
That's what we're running. We'll see how it goes.
So finally, Dan, how many CPs do you have in this list?
We are starting today with 10. Also got the Warlord trait, though, to regenerate on a 5-up.
Is that when you spend a stratagem?
That's when I spend a CP. So if I use a 2 CP stratagem, I'll be rolling 2 dice.
Okay. And any pre-game extra spends?
No, nothing for me. So I'm just taking the stock Warlord trait on Imhotep, and I've got my 1 relic, and that is the Veil of Darkness, which is the once per game, pick up a unit, teleport.
Nice. Great. So over to the Deathwatch.
Okay. Right, Steve, are you going to give us a little bit of a run through of what you're going to be running today?
Sure am. So this is a 2,000 point Deathwatch list with some allies. Now this is classified as a Deathwatch list because it is over 50% of the army according to the ITC. I'm cool with that. So let me talk you through what I've got. We start on 13 CPs. We've got a double battalion, so obviously you get 5 CPs per battalion, and I've also got the heavy auxiliary detachment as well, so I don't get any CPs for that. But let me talk you through what I've got. So we've got a captain with the Deathwatch. He has got a relic blade and also a storm bolter. We've then got the Watchmaster here next to him, his left-hand man, right-hand man, whatever you want to call it. Now the captain gives reroll 1s within 6, the Watchmaster reroll all misses to friendly Deathwatch units. I'm then also trying out this beast, Chaplain Dreadnought. So this is a Forge World unit, and he's got an assault cannon and then obviously close combat weapon. I'm going to see what he can do. He's got about 4 or 5 attacks. I'm not exactly sure yet, don't quote me on it. I think it might be 4 actually. He gives +1 strength, obviously to himself, and to any other friendly chapter units that are in the same combat, which is pretty cool. So we've got 3 HQs there. We've then also got 4 troops. Now these are all exactly the same. This is what you've seen before on the channel and what you've seen me use before. This is my standard, and I think this is the most optimal. And I've seen a lot of people now try to recreate this, but yeah, this for me is the original list. Now what we've got here is we've got a Black Shield. He allows the whole unit to heroically intervene if he's alive. We've then also got a sergeant in the squad, extra attack, a little bit better leadership. We've got a couple of dudes with just storm bolters and close combat weapons. We've then got 3 guys with the old storm shields and obviously storm bolters, and then we've got the Vanguard veterans who are going to have a bolt pistol and storm shield as well. Because they've got cheaper, I can put a little bit more into list, so I'm slowly converting these models as we go through. You'll notice some are on slightly bigger bases. They're only on those bigger bases simply so I can rebase them once I've finished painting these guys. So I'm having a few painting lessons at the moment from Cult of Paint, and you know, Andy has done an incredible job there with me, so he's really helped me with the old airbrush. So you'll be hopefully seeing a much better standard and model to the table soon. So I've got 4 squads. I've then got the Battalion of Guard, and I'm going for Destroying this time. So I've got the 3 infantry squads as per usual. Company Commander, who is the Warlord. Again, this guy's unpainted for the time being. Now, the Company Commander, he's the Warlord. He's also got the Relic to farm CPs back. So when Dan spends a stratagem on a 5, I can try and get one back. Or if I spend some on a 5, I can get some back. He also gets a free reroll once per turn. I don't know the exact classification off the top of my head, but we will really look up that. And it really mainly only applies to him. I think it's a hit roll, wound roll, a save roll off the top of my head, but I could be wrong. Then we've got Tank Commander. He has got a battle cannon, he's got a las cannon, and also for this game, because it's 2,000 points, I've been able to equip him with the invisible plasma cannon side sponsons. Okay,
so they're not going to get to fire later.
Oh yes, they will. And then finally, big boy Crast Knight. Now I'm not going to get the Crast benefit, but it does allow me to take Warlord traits and relics of Crast, which is pretty cool. So he's got a battle cannon, he's got a heavy flamer, he's got the Crusader, Avenger Gatler. He's also then got 2 heavy stubbers, and he's also got the rocket pod on the top, which is range 72 and doesn't need line of sight. So that's going to be pretty effective, hopefully, in this game. D6 shot. So he's a bit of a beast there. I've gone for the Warlord trait. I spent a CP to give him to make him a character, and I've given him the Warlord trait that allows him to have a 4-up invulnerable save, which should hopefully be pretty tasty against Dan's nasty -5 AP. So make sure you're taking that invulnerable save, guys. I'm not going to bother with a relic on him today. I want to save my CPs because I feel like I might need them for later on in the game. There's nothing else relic-wise that I think really is worth that 1 CP. Where I can try and save CPs, I will. The other CP I have spent though is on my captain, which allows him to redeploy a unit of the Deathwatch within 6 inches of him, 9 inches away from an enemy model. Very similar to what Dan's got. So we've got some cool shenanigans. So let the game commence. Necrons, you're going down. So the primary mission, what we have to do is 2 things. Number 1, I have to try and kill a unit. If I do that, at the end of my turn, I score a point. If I control an objective, I also score another point. And that's me scored for primary, okay? Then, at the end of the battle round, so let's say I'm going first, I would score, let's say, kill a unit, get a point, hold a unit, hold an objective, get a point. Then it would go over to Dan's turn. He would do the exact same. Now, Dan, let's say he kills 2 of my units. Because he's killed more than me in that battle round, he's going to get a bonus point. However, I might control 2 objectives and he might only control 1, so I'm going to get a bonus point. So we'd literally be 3 for 3 at the end of that turn based on the primary mission pack. So you finished deploying, Dan?
I have.
So what secondaries are you going to go for?
Good question. Where were we? So again, I think this is pretty much the second time I've ever played ITC, so a bit new to me. So still not really got much of a sense for actually which ones play out, which one's the easiest to get, but what we've gone for is old school, which, if I remember correctly, gives me first strike, last strike, slay the warlord, and line breaker.
Yep.
So kind of like the old school, and that's more what I'm used to, I suppose. I've generally played ETC missions, so the kind of Eternal War Maelstrom combo. So a little bit more familiar. I've gone for ground control, which is a point at the end of the game for each objective that I'm sat on.
Again, similar to what you already know.
Yeah, again, something that's not too much to think about. So yeah, the last one is Big Game Hunter, and that is a point for each model destroyed with more than 7 wounds. We've got a few different targets here. We've got this guy here, who's got more than 7 wounds. Yep,
but he's a character.
So he's going to be a little bit harder to get it on.
Yeah, because he's under 10 wounds, so he can't be targeted, but he can be done.
And we've got this guy, the tank commander, sat at the back, who does have more than 10 wounds, so I can target him and also will give up a point. So there's a few ways that I can score that,
Nice.
albeit it's not going to be the easiest.
But if you get 2 or 3 of those points, you've done a good job.
Yeah, absolutely.
So my secondaries, I'm also going to go for old school, I'm also going to go for control ground, and then I'm going to go for mark for death. So I need to pick 4 of Dan's units and basically completely annihilate them. So I'm going to go for the destroyers. Reason being, I don't want them anywhere near me, and I want Dan to now think twice about putting them anywhere close to me. What I'm then also going to do is pick... how many squads of the troops have you got?
I've got 3 units.
You've got 3 units of troops. I'll tell you what, let's just go for those. That makes it super easy. I killed the troops, I killed the destroyers. Yeah, that I would have probably picked these super quick things. What are they called?
Tomb Blades, yeah.
Tomb Blades. Is there any way actually we can identify your 2 units, or are they all the...
Yeah, so they're all slightly different.
So these we've got blue on, right?
Yeah, so there's the squad over here.
Right, we'll ignore the blue guys. I'll go for the Tomb Blades, the Destroyers, and these 2 units here, the green units. The reason why I'm going for the Tomb Blades, again, looking at his list, he's only got 3 of them, should be quite an easy kill. And also, he wants to use those to grab objectives, so again, he's going to be putting them close to me. The tempting thing is either to go for the big heavy units that I might just leave alone, to be honest, or obviously the scarabs. Now, you need to do this before you deploy, okay, and that's really crucial. So I can't just look and go, oh, what looks easy to kill? Because I would have just picked these scarabs here. The other thing is, obviously, if I've said, right, I'm going to pick this unit scarabs, he's just going to put them in the back out of my control to kill. So, yeah, I'm going to go for the things that he's going to want to use, get close to me, and therefore I can crush him. So the all-important roll-off, who goes first? I'm rolling this black Warhammer TV dice, and
I am rolling this red and blue
Team America dice.
Traitor.
I got that when I played in old Croatia. Ready? 3, 2, 1. I get the +1. Oh, and that is no good to me at all. So am I going to try and seize? I think it would be kind of rude not to. Do I seize on camera? I think I probably should seize on camera. It would be nice to get the first turn.
I don't think you need it.
I'm probably just going to roll a 6.
Oh, and he doesn't.
That's close, but it's no cigar. So Dan's going first. So for your viewing pleasure, we've got a nice little whiteboard just to keep track of scores, so it's nice and easy for you guys to see at home and keep up to date with what's going on. And I would also suggest getting yourself one of these. This is one of the best game tools you can possibly get. So what we've got here, Dan is going first. I'm going to put his controls down here when he controls an objective, and also his kills when he scores a point. So he'll be max 2 per turn, obviously 6 turns. We've then got my side. At the end of the battle round, we'll also add on additional, which I'll put on the side for obviously if they control more or kill more compared to their my or his or each other, should I say. Then the secondaries are going to be classed down here. We've got Big Game Hunter, Old School, Control, Ground Control, and then we've got Mark for Death, Old School, Ground Control. And we've also got Dan is on 10 CPs, I'm on 8 CPs. So we will recap at the end of each turn. So as the land lies, this is the deployment. I've put 3 units in Deep Strike. I've got some troops over there, here, the Deathwatch here, the Watchmaster in there, and also this here. Personally, I think I've already made a mistake. I would have really liked to put my Deathwatch near that piece of terrain actually, instead of that unit of guardsmen. I was too hasty to put those guardsmen down. Thus now means I'm probably going to have to play 2 CPs just to basically make sure that my Deathwatch can take a cover save. But I was hopefully relying on that +1 to roll. The other mistake I may have made is placing my tank commander. Now, at the time when I deployed him, because I had fewer drops than Dan, I wasn't sure where his Doomsday Arcs were going to be placed. So I thought if I place him somewhere central, he's got long range, he can shoot either side, because there's a lot of line of sight blocking down that middle. Now what I should have done is, instead of thinking, right, okay, I need to be able to use him first turn, what I should have done was hit him, and I basically should have hid him behind those barrels. Now whether that would have meant shooting, and forfeiting turn 1, and maybe just popping smoke or double moving to get to the other side of the board if needed, or just moving half range if that's all I needed, and then I could have still fired just -1 to hit. I should have done that, I think, just to keep him much safer. We'll see, but it could be the biggest mistake I've just made. Then we've got some these horrible things which are literally an absolute nightmare to kill. The big cannons over here, obviously that's their proper name. We've then got some scarabs and then loads of troops, characters, and the destroyers in the corner there. So Dan, turn 1. Turn 1. What is your plan?
So this is something that I should probably think through a bit more, really, shouldn't I? But broadly speaking, I'm going to be quite cagey here. So Steve's put 3 of his units of Deathwatch into Deep Strike. I'm a bit of a nerd and I love the maths, and doing the maths on Deathwatch Stormbolters against Necrons, it's not looking good. So I guess a big part of how I want to play this is to screen, use the small squads of scarabs that I've got dotted around, effectively to screen him out and push back, so when we get to turn 2 and he wants to land his troops, he actually can't land and be rapid firing on anything that I care about. So until they're down, I will probably play this pretty cagey, and that's generally how I am as a player. I don't intend to be super aggressive. That said, there's a few things that we can look at this turn. So this guy sat at the back here. I know he will cause me a world of trouble if I don't get rid of him.
Yep.
And theoretically, he's a pretty squishy target for my big cannons. So he's probably something that's going to go. We've also got a nice bundle in the middle here, which again, pretty good candidate for Imhotep's Storm ability. So that's once per game, pick a unit within 48, D6 mortals on that unit, and then anything within 6 inches on a 6 takes D3. So with that, it can't target a character, which means actually the 2 things that I care about over here, I can't hit with it anyway. So the only real target for in this game is going to be a unit of Deathwatch. So
it's a pretty good target though.
Why not use it early?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's broadly speaking where I'm going with this. As I say, it's probably going to be quite a cagey turn, hoping to just deal out a little bit of damage and take out some key targets.
Cool, see what you do. So we've just gone into the end of the movement phase now.
Yep.
Literally just moved up some chaps over there, and that's pretty much about it. So I know some of the scarabs have moved up. So Dan, what are you doing?
So first things first, we're going straight in with Imhotep's Storm, and that is going to go on this unit of...
So it's going to do D6 mortal wounds.
Yep. So let's see what we can do. He rolls a 6. It's a good start.
That literally breaks my heart.
So that's 6 of those Deathwatch gone.
You always do this.
I always do this.
Why is it always a 6?
Because it's the right number. And we'll get rid of those, then I'm just going to roll a 6 for these, him, and him as well.
Okay, come on then, roll your dice
Let's go.
in.
So we'll start with the Guardsman.
So what have you got to roll?
A 6. Nothing on the Guardsman.
Okay.
The
Watchmaster. Excellent. Yeah, another 6.
So we go D3, mortal wounds on the Watchmaster. It's 2.
Brilliant, he's got 4 left.
The Dreadnought.
Yeah.
Nope. And the Knight. Nope. So not as devastating as it could be, but
well, that's pretty
not going to complain about that one.
That's pretty devastating. This is literally that's how my luck goes in Warhammer.
It's a good start.
Painful.
What
have you done?
Pretty much exactly what I said I was going to do. I pretty much turtled. Things haven't moved very much, other than Scarab's just pushing up a little bit to screen out. Still all hidden out of line of sight.
Killed loads of my beautiful Deathwatch boys.
6 Deathwatch, or 6 mortals, so we've had the Terminator and 4 of the other boys.
And then on its damage, there's
the little gap here that used to be a tank commander.
So you just scored one of your big game hunter points.
I have indeed. One of my old school points.
Yeah, so the let's have a quick look at the scores on the doors now for Dan. Let's see if I can do this with one hand. So, did you control an objective?
I did indeed.
You did. How many you actually stood on just for...
I've got 3.
You're currently on 3, so we're going to put a little 3 there, just so we know. Then you killed a unit.
I did indeed.
How many units did you kill?
I only one. We do have a morale test actually on these guys.
Morale check. 3. I lost 5. I'm okay.
Yep.
So you killed 1 unit. You also got old school first strike.
Yep.
Which is down here. Big game hunter also 1 point. Excellent.
Good start. Well, Steve, going to give us a bit of a run through after that devastating first turn.
Yeah, it's not great. I was really hoping to see what the old tank commander can do. So I might try and get rid of one of these tank things. What are these called?
Doomsday Arcs.
Doomsday Arcs. I might try and get rid of one of those, or just try and hit one of these squads. But I do need to kill something. That's really important. I do that. So I need to kill something. I know Dan scored 3 objectives in terms of controlling, so as long as I control 3 as well, that's a kind of a wash. So I can't do 4, so I'm going to just try and get 3, which I should do quite happily, and I'm just going to get the easiest kill I possibly can, and we'll just literally nip that in the bud, I think.
Perfect. Let's see what you can do. Yeah. Stephen, let's have a bit of a run through of what happened.
It didn't go quite to plan. Had a really good movement phase. I've screened out pretty well. Knight moved up. Managed to get my boys over here to move to capture this objective. Because I'm objective secured. So that means I get 4 objectives, which is cool. So I'm going to get the +1. Now all I needed to do was kill 1 unit. And I thought, do you know what? I'll put everything into 1 unit. So let's just have a little pan over there. 1 guy left. Dan uses a reroll and saves on a 4-up from the Avenger cannon on this boy. Heavy Stubbers did nothing, and then he's just spent 2 CPs to get, well, basically keep him alive. So that means that Dan gets, that also stops me from scoring first strike, which is massive as well. So I'm not going to be able to score that, which is one of obviously my secondaries. It's such a big play from Dan there, just to use that 1 reroll and then the 2 CP. So it is a 3-point investment, and it's paid off well. You did actually get your CP back, didn't you?
I did indeed.
So at the end of this, scores on the doors are, I'm going to get the bonus point for having more objectives. So I didn't kill anything either. So I didn't kill anything, but I did get that and I got the bonus. So I scored 2 that turn. Dan, you scored 3. So currently it's 3-2. Okay. And then we've got the secondaries as well. So the secondaries, you got your first point for old school. I didn't. And also you got your big game hunter. And I didn't get anything. So it's actually 5-2 to the Necrons. That literally has changed the game dramatically, because if I'd have just got that last point, that would have been evens. I'd have got an extra point. I'd have got my first strike. I'd be probably 2 more points up, and it would be much, much closer. So in ITC, that's a bit of a blow. So well done, Dan. You've played extremely well.
Beautiful.
So one thing I want to point out that is extremely important to clarify with your opponent exactly how the pieces of scenery that you have are going to influence and impact the game. So on first inspection, you might have these Necron warriors behind the Promethean pipes, and you might believe that this could potentially stop you from charging. Now, as you know, or if you're unaware, the combat rules to be in combat with something say that you need to be within an inch. And as you can see, when you measure these Promethean pipes, if a unit is touching the pipe in order to claim cover, and therefore you charge the pipe and the unit behind it which are touching it, and you also touch the pipe, as you can see, that is a 1 inch measure, and now you are within an inch. So that's extremely important to make sure that you clarify that at the start, so both people are aware, so there's no hidden surprises, because what you don't want is someone to not know that and all of a sudden get charged when they could have moved back and left the cover. Or what you also don't want to happen is somebody not to be able to play because this scenery has completely impacted their game and they've lost even before they've started the game.
So Dan, talk us through your turn.
Pretty unspectacular.
So movement-wise?
Movement-wise, a bit more of not a lot. Scarabs have pushed up a little bit further, so...
Screen me out.
Yeah, so the plan, these guys screening together with these have basically pushed it so any deep strike that comes in...
I can't rapid fire.
Yeah, won't be in rapid fire of anything I care about.
Move some chaps up around here, and you move these guys back to hide so they can obviously start to re-am again.
Yep. Cool. And again, just aiming just to do a bit of kill denial there if I can. And
then basically you took away my screen.
Yep.
So you've killed a unit.
Yep, which was important.
And then you did 5 wounds to the knight. I did have to rotate Iron Shields for that 3-up in bun, and I did have to use the reroll at some point as well, but you did do 5 damage on the one that did go through, so not a little bad cheeky turn. So how many objectives are you stood on?
So I am stood on 3 objectives as it stands.
Cool.
We'll see if that happens at the end of this turn.
And you killed a unit?
Killed a unit.
So that was my second turn. Basically, knight came forward. dropped my Deathwatch boys, just bang in the middle, to put on as many shots as I possibly could at one of the targets which were marked for death, which are no longer here. So they were controlling that objective. I put everything into that. The knight then actually could start chipping away at the other squad. He kind of whiffed it shooting, but made up for it in combat, and he wiped out a unit of the scarabs. So at the end of that, I control 4 objectives, so that means I get 1 more than Dan, so I get the bonus point. I also killed more because I killed 2 units. I killed the scarabs and also the immortals. Is that right?
Yep.
So because I scored that, I scored 4 points this turn for my primary, and then I also got 1 of my points for marked for death. So the current scores on the doors is Dan is on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and I'm on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that was a good turn for me. Just caught up from that first bad turn. So neck and neck as it stands, going into Dan's turn 3. Still more to play for.
Now, one thing I just wanted to point out, one of the things that Dan did incredibly well here was that he remembered that because I spent 1 CP to make my knight a character, he made sure that in his movement phase he was over 3 inches away. Now that ruler is a 3-inch measure. Now by doing so means that I am unable to heroically intervene, because remember, you can heroically intervene with a character after your opponent has finished their charge phase. Now that doesn't mean they actually have to charge anything at all, because it is just a phase in the game, just like there's a movement phase, a psychic phase, a shooting phase. Just because you don't shoot, that phase still happens in that sequence of events. So this was a really great play, and he also did that with my Deathwatch squads, because he also knows that my Black Shields are also, or give the ability to my squads to also heroically intervene. So this was a really good play, so he doesn't lose those scarabs to essentially combat in his turn.
So yeah, not a terrible turn. I think I pretty much had to put everything into the knight to kill it, including a charge from a scarab and blowing a base up to take the last wound off him.
Oh, I forgot to take your CP off.
Yes, take my CP off. So I'm down to 6 now. I've already had my 1 back this turn, so I couldn't regenerate that one.
Yeah, I'm on 4.
So yeah, I'm still pretty well castled at the back. I positioned all these guys. I moved them, so effectively, if this unit of Deathwatch here is to come towards me, they're not going to be able to get rapid fire range, anything at the back still. And I should still be screened out all across here, so they basically have nowhere to land to get rapid fire shots on my army. However, basically my whole game's been centred around stopping him doing that, and now I'm going to have a whole load of guys that I can't kill. So I'm not sure it's really going to work, but we'll see.
It's all to play for, mate. It's all to play for. My big boy's gone. I've got no tank commander, so
Yeah, we'll see.
Let's see what my Chaplain Dreadnought can do. I'm waiting for him to come into play. He's 200 points.
He's going to die.
He's not. Leave him alone. So, myself and Dan, we've just came to a slight problem here. Now, I said to Dan, right, what one are you holding? As Dan said, you hold an objective, didn't you?
Absolutely.
And I was thinking earlier, do you know what, this will be great to put on camera, because I don't think Dan has moved this, because you actually moved them round this way a little bit.
These ones scooted round.
Yeah, you moved them to try and hide them, you see. So I was like, has he moved them off from that objective? Basically, we've just measured that you are out of 3 inches from the centre of the base.
Yep.
Because Dan normally plays it from the edge. So obviously, I know Dan would have had that movement. It was clearly his intention. At the end of the day, this is a friendly game. The rules pack does state the very centre of the base. Some objective markers are quite difficult to actually determine the centre. So again, just make sure, like, I'm happy for Dan to control it, that's cool. But yeah, remember guys, if you know you'd have clearly had this movement, don't be that guy, but also make sure you do read the rules pack in, just even declare your intention. You might have got around that issue. So I know Dan, he's a good enough player to know that he would have put them within 3.
And Stephen's a gentleman.
And I'm a gentleman, so, you know, Vanguard Tactics just being that, you know, nice white light, so to speak, for sportsmanship in the game of 40k. There it is. So, Dan, at the end of your turn, you controlled an objective.
I did. I killed a thing.
Yeah, which was my big thing.
Yeah, which is handy.
Yeah.
So he's gone. Which also scores me my secondary point.
Great choice. So you killed something and you controlled something.
Yep. Oh. Steve, let's have a bit of a roundup.
Well, It's an intense turn for me. So, started off some movement shenanigans, but most important thing is I'm keeping my Warlord completely surrounded, okay? And what I've basically done is just denied everywhere through 9 inches. So if Dan wants to redeploy anywhere, he's going to have to really, just can't get back there basically. So that was the idea with that, whilst getting closer to these objectives, just so I've got that board control for the end of the game, so I can get my 4 points. Then what I did was I focused on killing the 1 unit up there with 5, started to take away some destroyers, killed a couple, did get rid of that unit, which is a kill point for me, and I killed another 2 units there of the scarabs. So that means I killed 3 this turn. Unfortunately not the ones that I actually wanted to kill, but they're gone anyway. And I'm also on 1, 2, 3, 4 objectives. We decided at the start of this not to do the bonus, just to keep it a little bit simpler. But there might be a bonus, like if you control all I think it's 5 or 6, so I will clarify that. But that could have been an extra 1. I don't think it's going to be groundbreaking at this stage of the game. So really now I just got to pray I don't lose too many models on Dan's return fire, and then from that point I can then really focus on, you know, pushing on a little bit harder. But we did realise that Dan did leave a bit of a gap in his you know, way to try and stop me from rapid firing over there. Did leave a small gap, and I was able just to fit that squad in. And the other thing I've got, Deathwatch have got some pretty cool anti-Xenos stratagems. Now, when I did my consolidation with this unit and my pile-in and my charge, I wanted to get this guy as close to this unit as possible so I could get within 12 inches, because I can play a stratagem for 1 CP, so his ability to bring models back will be on a -1. And if I can keep this destroyer number down on his reanimation protocols, then I think that's going to be a good start for me. But he's still got these big 3 boys. It's all to play for. We'll see how it goes. Looking a bit happy with yourself, mate.
It was a good turn.
What have you just done?
It was a good turn. A lot. So this horrible mess in the middle that was about 30 odd Deathwatch guys is now only 6.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing for me was the Nightbringer popping over, doing a 9-inch bubble, and you rolled very well on you had 3 mortal wounds, 3 mortal wounds, 3 mortal wounds. Yeah,
so I had quite a heavy CP spend that turn. So this guy, I spent a CP to swap out his power to get the 9-inch one.
Yeah, down to 2 now.
Yeah, I spent another CP to ignore an invuln with his first attack in combat to kill off the Watchmaster.
Destroyers use some CPs.
Yeah, destroyers use CPs. I've used a CP reroll, so I spent I think 4 or 5 in that turn. So quite CP intensive, but it's really broken the back of this stuff in the middle.
I think it has, you know. I think that's pretty much turned the tide of the game.
Yeah.
We'll carry on playing, just to play it out, obviously, to see what I can now do. That's a very good turn, mate.
Yeah.
So you've just scored, basically, you killed 3 units, the Watchmaster, the unit that was... No, you've killed 4 units this turn.
Yeah.
So I'm going to have to be really struggle to kill 4 units this turn, I think.
Yeah, so that should be looking good for points on this turn, I think.
And you control 2 objectives. I might be able to get more objectives this turn, but you've got the more kills.
Yeah,
so that'll balance out. Nice, mate.
Great.
Well done.
Nice one. Steve, bit of a roundup of your turn 4.
Yeah, it's not gone great, to be honest. So moved up around here just to make sure I've got full board control. So I've got 3 objectives there. Didn't really go quite as I expected to. Put a big seat. I didn't look. It's not going well, right? So I thought, put all the CPs when I can. Let's try and do something. And I managed to only kill 3 immortals with my Deathwatch boys. And then I lost 2 in Overwatch. I couldn't believe it. So my roles just this game haven't quite gone how I wanted. I did manage to take down the older Nightbringer there, but the captain. Just a couple of things, used the old reroll, thought, okay, I'll force another save, reroll to a 1 because I'm winning on 3s over there. Didn't quite finish off that last, what's it called?
The Tomb Blade.
Tomb Blade.
Yeah.
Because if I kill that one, you see, that's another one for me because that's one of my targets, you see.
Yep.
So I was like, right, I'll put that 1 more in, I need a 3, and then I'll do a D3 damage on my Relic Blade, roll a 1, they got 2 wings each, couldn't believe it. So shame there. Could have done with either, you know, rolling 2 double lots of damage, and that would have killed them off. Would have clawed me a point, but just hasn't been enough, unfortunately. So I think we can probably, based on the scores there, oh look, all right, So my turn 4, I killed something.
Yep. Held something.
I control something. I control more. You killed more. Mark for death. Nothing.
Nothing.
So at the end of that, you're on currently 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 CPs, 14 victory points. I'm on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. I'm on 14 as well. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. It's 14 plays 14. However, let's look what's on the board. You've still got your redeploy stratagem?
I have indeed.
Okay, so this is... Now, I'm real hungry. Dan's made a quality chili, so I think we probably pack this up. But if you're in a tournament situation, this is what... Now, it does depend on the TO slightly and all that kind of stuff, but I would want a fair result. Now, if the game just stopped now, right? Because we've been playing for longer than 2.5 hours in a tournament, right? So we'd look at this and go, well, we've had equal amount of turns. So depending on the tournament and what you agree with your opponent, I would now score 1, 2, 3, 4 objectives. So I'd max out my secondaries. So as it stands at the moment, if we weren't to play on, if it literally stopped right now, if it was a timeout game, I would score 1 more point. So I'd be up 5 more points, basically. 1 for last strike, and then because I'm on 4 objectives, right?
Okay.
So control ground. You would score 1 objective here, but you also scored 2 more points, so you'd be up 2, right? So actually, I would have won by 2 points if the game ended right now. But that's not a fair result, okay? So, you know, it does depend on, you know, like, has your opponent deliberately been slow? I don't think I've deliberately played slow in this game, as I need basically the game to end. So this is what I think should happen. If we were to carry on, and obviously myself and Dan, we've got all the time really kind of needed. We've got 2 more turns. That's pretty much going to go there. This is going to go here. And it's pretty safe to say this lot is dead, right? So Dan's going to clear me off there. Okay, that's gone. He's then going to redeploy. Okay. This stuff can start to shuffle, move up here, probably advance, roll a bit more, add a few more on. So they're up here. This is literally just going to take that objective. And then what would happen, these guys, the only place they can go is probably here. So he's got 2 turns to clear out 10 guys, move forward, kill my warlord, get line breaker, and literally then in his next turn 5 he would have all the objectives and it would be completely game, set, match. So I think it's fair to say massive victory for Dan and the Necrons. So if you're over there thinking Necrons, they're rubbish, you know, they're real weak and everything else is OP,
they're not as bad as people think.
Not when you know how to play them, and this is an absolute testament to Dan. Like he said at the start of this video, he's played it throughout 8th, very good player, and this was a really good close game.
Yeah,
so
absolutely brilliant game.
Really, really good game, very tight. I think biggest thing for me, I'm going to look back over the footage and think, right, did I make any mistakes? I think I played tactically well. Missing out on that first strike was massive for me. The knight whiffed all game. That was a real big problem for me because the only thing he actually did was kill 3 scarab bases. So that's pretty big. Like, shooting whiffed hard, didn't it?
Pretty solid investment for 500 points. He killed 39 and then died.
Obviously losing tank commander. I could have deployed him maybe out of line of sight. Perhaps I should have done that. And then just sort of moved him. Maybe I should have done that and I wouldn't have been able to fire twice. But I needed a zone out as well because of that drop. That immortal bomb at the start, getting 6 mortal wounds.
I think it's safe to say I've certainly had a bit of luck going my way in this game. I've had rolls when I've needed them, and Steve's dice have abandoned him a little bit, so it has made life more difficult.
Yeah, but apart from that, I mean, you played so well, mate, and yeah, well done. So, Necrons, they're good. So I hope you enjoyed that game with myself and Dan. It was an absolute brilliant game to play and also really enjoyable to film and edit. So comment below if you're thinking about giving the ITC Championship Mission Pack a try, whether it's at your club with your mates, or whether you're even thinking about doing an ITC competition at some point in the future. I'd love to know and hear your thoughts. So what I want to do is just quickly go over what went well and also what we could have done better. Now, it's really difficult to know what Dan could have done better with, as he played extremely well. And a few things that really, in my opinion, gave him the edge at the very end was literally his ability to stay outside of rapid fire range. And he screened so well to prevent me from doing that. The other thing that Dan did extremely well was use cover. Now, the Promethean pipes, I don't think that we are going to use those as cover in the future. We had a bit of a discussion at the end, and perhaps there was a little bit too much cover on that side of the table, just because of how far you can spread with them, and also it would block things like the Dreadnought and tanks from moving. They look great, and I think in the future we might keep them on the table, but I don't think we're actually going to have them influencing the game at all in any sort of aspect. And also because they were line of sight blocking for the scarabs, again, it made it extremely difficult for me to actually get hold of those scarabs and clear that screen away. So from a competitive standpoint, probably not the best terrain, but it does look great. And as mentioned before, Dan did extremely well at staying out of 3 inches from heroically intervening, and that just made sure that my knight couldn't, make that heroically intervene, or intervention, shall I say, in his own charge phase. Now, on my part, I made a few errors, and I said those at the start. Deployment, I should have just been more conservative, and the lesson here is just because you have a unit, it doesn't mean that you need to use it turn 1. So I've got my tank commander, I should have hit him, then just moved half range. I would have been able to see something, and then what I'd have been able to then do is use that to actually do something, rather than giving down 200 points literally for free. So that was one mistake from my part, was my deployment. The other part, which is really difficult to know if it was a mistake or not, is the mortal wound bomb that Imatech can do, as I had so many units bunched up in one area, and I did that because I needed to screen my characters. Now, the problem here is that if you don't screen your characters, then they could easily get shot, especially as Dan can redeploy. But that being said, the unlikelihood of him rolling a 6 on the mortal wounds and then hitting the Watchmaster is so unlikely that I thought I would take my chances. But again, you can't just play in fear of somebody rolling a 6 on mortal wounds, for example. You have to play the consistent game that's going to give you consistent, reliable results. The other thing I should have done as well is I should have played Recon. Now, Recon is a secondary mission, or a secondary objective, should I say. And what that does, or requires you from you, is to have a different unit in every quarter of the board. And as you could see from most of the game, I pretty much would have done that. So I'd have maxed out on my secondaries, and I would have swapped that instead of marked for death, because he did so well at hiding those characters. And I should have took my own advice. He hid those units so well, and I should have took my own advice. He didn't even really need to use the destroyers or use the tomb blades. So what I should have done was gone for Recon instead, because again, that's something that I'm in charge of. He can't influence that. And I think that's another great example, actually, my point at the very beginning is choose the secondary objectives that your opponent has no impact on, and choose the ones that you know your army can score really well. So I should have gone for old school, I should have gone for ground control, and I also should have gone for Recon. But for me, I'm not going to be completely disappointed. There was a few things in that game that just didn't go my way. Although I made a couple of mistakes, my knight really didn't deliver as I would have hoped him to. And him failing to kill more than 3 Necron warriors in that first turn was absolutely devastating. And not getting my first strike from my old school, and not killing that one Necron off with essentially my whole army's worth of shooting. Not killing one squad of Necrons in my first turn was a massive, massive blow. I didn't really have any other targets that I could see or hit. And statistically, you should kill that unit every single turn. So again, I can't beat myself up too much. I did make Dan spend a lot of CPs to keep him alive, but that was literally game breaking and what changed the game dramatically, because that stopped me from a few things. Number one, getting one of my secondary points, which would have been first strike. It stopped me from killing a unit in my first turn, which also cost me another point. And also it then meant Dan killed more than me in the first turn. So there would have been a difference of 3 points right from the beginning there. And then that would have also meant that those Necron warriors would have, Necron immortals wouldn't have then regenerated, and then he wouldn't have been able to zone me out later on in the game, and I could have then dropped down much closer to those Tomb Blades, killed those, and that would have been another secondary point. So I can't beat myself up too much. The rolls just didn't go my way, but at the end of the day, Dan played incredibly well, and he was the better player on that day. And I think one of the things that Dan did amazingly well with, and this is one thing that I would like everyone to take away from this, is how he used his destroyers. His destroyers are his best unit in the game, but he waited until turn 3 to use them. He didn't need to use them before that. Okay, so again, just because you have a really good unit, don't throw it away, because me and Dan discussed this at the end. When Dan knows that he's got a full unit of destroyers at turn 3, nothing else can really kill it, and their efficiency is so good, they'll literally table every single opponent he plays against. So all he needs to do is use the Doomsday Arcs, put loads of long range fire on. So this is, if you're a Necron player, do exactly that. Use the Immortals as they get closer, and then finally counter turn 3 or turn 4 with the destroyers, and then you can just mop up. They've got the mobility to get places, and that's exactly what you need late game, is mobility. So guys, I hope you enjoyed that video. Please, please, please do subscribe. It means the world to myself, Dan, Jack and Mark, who put the time and effort into putting these videos. If you want myself and Dan's list, we're going to email that over to you, and I'm also going to give you that link to the ITC Championship Mission Pack. So you can get that all from our website, www.vanguardtactics.com. And also, if you want to support the channel on Patreon and just, sponsor this show essentially to allow us to, keep playing these games, getting better terrain, and ultimately making sure that we can reliably put out videos, then we have a Patreon page, Vanguard Tactics, and you can support us there. Guys, honestly, I can't say thank you enough for all the support, the comments that you give, and I would love to know as well what you'd have done differently. If you liked the play that we made, tell us. If you didn't, comment below. It really doesn't matter, because the most important thing is we communicate, we're open, we're honest, and that way, together, we can all become better 40k gamers. So until next video, I'm Stephen Box, and this is Vanguard Tactics.